Okay, hello everyone. All right, so let's talk about how to format numbers in a minimum field width. Okay, so what's that? All right, so let's go ahead and create a couple of numbers. Let's first start with one number. I'm going to create a variable called number, and I'm going to store the value, let's say 23567. Now I'll format this number as a currency amount, right? So let's see. I'm going to format this number. All right, the format function takes in two arguments: what you want to format and how you want it formatted. So I'm going to pass in what I want formatted, which is the number, and I'm going to specify how I want it formatted. First of all, I want it formatted as a floating point value. Well, let's make it 23567.68. So first of all, I want it formatted as a floating point value. I want it formatted to 2 decimal places, so I'm going to type in 0.2, and I want commas where necessary in this value. I want the program to be able to place commas automatically in this number so that it looks like a monetary value. Automatically do that. So I'm going to place a comma right in front of the precision. This is the precision before the type. So the precision is the first thing. All right, so when I basically call this format function and format it this way, it's going to return the formatted version. It's going to return this number formatted this way. All right. And I'm going to store that in a variable. I'm going to call it formatted number. So formatted number is going to store the formatted version of this number this way, right? The way we specified it. Then next thing we do is let's just go ahead and print it out. So let's print out what's stored in formatted number, right? So run it, and we can see that commas have been placed in this number automatically and has been rounded to 2 decimal places, as we can see. Now, I talked about how we can format numbers in minimum field width, right? So if I place the value, let's say 12 here, and I run it, we can see that it's shifted to the right. So basically, this value, this number here, has been placed in a field with width of 12 characters. If you count from the beginning of this line all the way to the end of the line, you have 12 characters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Right? It's placed this value in a field with a width of 12 characters. Right? Now, what's the purpose of this? If you wanted to, let's say, display certain numbers in aligned, in the same way, if you wanted all your decimal numbers aligned, regardless of how the numbers look, right? Or if you wanted the numbers aligned, you can, let's say, display all of them in a specific minimum field width. So let's create more variables here. Let's do that. I'm going to paste this several times. Now just change this to, let's say, number 2. Well, let's change this to number 1, right? Number 3. Oops, I removed that. 4, and then 5, and 6, and 7. Let's change these numbers a little bit. Let's see. Let's change this to 67.68. Let's change this to 2367.48. Let's change this to 2.8. Let's change this. Let's add some more here. Oops. Let's just delete this. 237.6 and 567.686. All right. First of all, let's format all these numbers the same way, right? So I know we're going to copy and paste a bunch of stuff, but let's do that just for oops. How many do we have? 7 numbers. I think we have 7. So number 1, number 2, number 3. I'm just demonstrating the purpose of minimum field width. Number 4, number 5, number 6, and number 7. We are basically formatting all these numbers. Oops, let's see. Formatted number 1, we have to change this to number 2, number 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. We are formatting each of these numbers, first of all, two decimal places, right? So 0.2, that's a precision, each of them. We are formatting them as floating point values. We can see F for all of them. Commas where necessary. We want the program to place commas where necessary, automatically place commas in the value so it looks like monetary amounts, right? And we are placing all of them in a width of 12, a width with length, right? 12, characters, right? It's called minimum field length, minimum field width because Well, first of all, by default, when the numbers are displayed, they are displayed right justified or right aligned. So when I run this, let's see if we have any errors. Well, formatted number 2. Let's see, what is it saying? Number 2 is not defined. All right, so I didn't name this right. So number 2. Well, right now we're only displaying formatted number. So let's go ahead and display all of them. Let's use one print function. By default, right, when you pass in multiple arguments into the print function, they are displayed with a space separate in them, right? But we'll change that space in a moment. So just go ahead and copy this. Again, I'm just demonstrating how minimum field width works. So paste this a couple more times, and we'll fix that in a second. Hold on. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. Change this to 2 here, 3, all the way to 7. And let's break this line here because I don't want to exceed this line over here, right? This line is the guideline for me so that I don't exceed 80 characters in a line. It's a Python standard not to exceed 80 characters in a line. So I want to stick with that. And before you break any line in Python, you type in the / and hit enter. All right, so I'm displaying these numbers. Let's first look at how they're displayed. Run. And we can see they're displayed well. But the thing is, by default, when you display numbers into the print function, when you pass argument into the print function this way, they are displayed with a space separate in them, right? So they're also displayed in the minimum field width. So we can see these large spaces. We can see spaces separate in them also. Let's change the separator. We learned about this. Let's change it to, from a space, the default is a space. Let's change it to a new line character. By default, these numbers are displayed with a space separate in them. Let's change that default space, the separator, which is a space, from a space to a new line character, which means that when each of these arguments is printed, the separator won't be a space anymore, but it will be a new line character, which means once a value is displayed, the position will move from the current line to the next line. All right, so once the value is displayed, the position will move from the current line to the next line, and anything that comes after that first argument, right, the second argument will be displayed on the next line going, and then it will be separated with a new line character instead of a space, which means the position will move from the end of the line to the next line, and any number that comes after that second number, which is the third number, will be displayed on that next line going and so forth. So we've changed the separator to a new line character. Let's run this. Now we can see that these numbers are displayed, right? So this is how so now they've been separated nicely with a new line character. But this is how the minimum field width works. We can see that most of the numbers here are, well, first of all the numbers are displayed in a minimum field width, which means they've been placed in a space or in a field with a width of 12 characters, right? Each of them have 12 characters. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Each of them have 12 characters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So when what you are displaying in that field is less than the number of characters, by default, it's right justified. It's right aligned. You can think of it that way, right justified. You can see all these numbers are right justified. When the number you are displaying in that minimum field width of 12 is more than the minimum field width, right, that field width, okay, is expanded to accommodate for that number. So in this case, it was 12 characters. This value was placed in the minimum field width of 12 characters. But because it's more than 12 characters, in this case, I think 14, this field is expanded over. And that's why this one looks a bit off, right? So we can kind of set the minimum field width to 14 for all of them, and they will all be adjusted. Let's do that so they all look nice and adjusted. Run this program, and we can see everything has been adjusted nicely. They've all been placed in a minimum field width of 14 characters. It's called minimum field width because the thing is, when it's under 12 characters, so in this case, when it's under 14 characters, they will all be right aligned. Okay, so that's like the minimum field width. Really, that's what it means. And if it's more than the minimum field width, then it's going to expand and then kind of accommodate for that space. All right, so this is how you use let's say the minimum field width to, let's say, align numbers if you want. All right, so we'll talk more about that. We'll see more examples of it in the future, but then I just wanted you to know this can be helpful in your programs when you're displaying or aligning stuff. And also it talks about, it's about the format function, so why not use it here? All right, so if you have any questions, please comment down below and I'll do everything to respond to them. Thank you very much for watching. As always, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time with the next video. All right then, bye-bye.